It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of November 13th, 1992. 5 movies to look at, some pretty notable ones included in this week's list of films. So let's not waste any time, let's just jump right on into it, and we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, Francis Ford Coppola's adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. That's got to be one of the best teaser trailers ever, and then all of a sudden you see Gary Oldman with that bizarre ball makeup that he has on him, and this movie is very, it's interesting. Like, the movie itself is a ton of fun. Like, I like the visual style, I like the design of the film. The movie looks visually gorgeous, very gothic. The performances in here are, for the most part, very good. Like, Gary Oldman does play Dracula very well. Winona Ryder is great as Mina Harker. Anthony Hopkins plays the role of Van Helsing very well. Keanu Reeves is the big iffy here, because you got to remember, this is back when he was still known mostly for stuff like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and he had that one breakout action role in Point Break. Nobody really took him that seriously as an actor back then. Of course, 30 years later, we have a completely different look at Keanu Reeves nowadays. But, yeah, for the most part, the movie itself is very good. There are a lot of elements that really don't work. One thing is that the performance of Keanu Reeves is probably the worst thing about this movie. Second worst thing about it is the makeup on Gary Oldman as Dracula. Like I said, he's got, like, this weird, like, ball thing on his, like, upper forehead, which is just, like, I don't know what they were thinking with that, but it doesn't really make this guy all the more scarier. It actually makes him look really more ridiculous. None more so than the fact that when you look at some of the different DVD and Blu-ray covers for this movie, it's like the people who put that together were very disappointed with what they had to work with, and in fact, let me show you what I mean. See, like, look at that. It's like they're embarrassed about what they were doing there. It's just like, I feel like Dracula's gonna be like Kramer, where it's just like, look away, I'm hideous. Like, look at that. That's a look away, I'm hideous look right there. And, I'll give it credit, though. It looks a lot better than the other Blu-ray cover that they did, and I'll show you that right now. Like, what the hell is that supposed to be? Like, am I supposed to be intimidated by that? But no, I'm not intimidated by that. That looks completely ridiculous, and it does look completely ridiculous. Like, I don't know what the point of that is. Am I supposed to be intimidated by that, or am I supposed to be afraid of that? I'm more afraid of that. Okay, maybe it's not something on the forehead. It's like the hair design on that looks like two balls, like, up in the air. But still, man, like, come on. I mean, like, you're trying to sell this as a horror movie. This looks like a comedy. This looks like, that Leslie Nielsen Dracula parody they did a few years later, Dracula Dead and Loving It. But nope, this was actually from the original Bram Stoker's Dracula, and yeah, it looks completely ridiculous. So yeah, you could probably tell that the people who did that knew that this was not a good look, and they had to find the best pictures that they could to sell this to people. Probably not the best way to do it, but I mean, the recent Steelbook that came out does use the original poster artwork, which is obviously a lot better, mostly because it doesn't use that ridiculous makeup design. But I mean, for Francis Ford Coppola to do this after he did The Godfather Part 3, which was a very mixed bag of a movie, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. I'm glad that he did it. I like that he took chances. I like that he didn't just stick with one specific genre and wanted to tackle something like this, which kind of worked out for him in a way. It's not a perfect movie by any means. It's not even a bad movie, but it's a fun movie overall. It's a very nice visual looking film. Most of the performances are still really good. The movie looks gorgeous. It has this nice feel to it, and it is just a ton of fun to watch. Like, it's a really good movie to watch, even if you're not the biggest horror movie person, which I'm not the biggest horror movie person, but I could watch this movie anytime and just be impressed by what I'm seeing here. It's a really solid film just for the art decoration alone, the set decoration alone. Some things that could have easily been fixed, obviously, but for what it is, it's an enjoyable movie. I enjoyed it a lot. So if you're looking for something to watch on Halloween this week, Bram Stoker's Dracula might be it for you. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is James Belushi, Tony Goldwyn, and Lorraine Bracco in Traces of Red. Boy, Lorraine Bracco picks some really bad movies. I mean, we've talked about a lot of times on this channel about, as actually kind of recently, because we saw there's been a couple movies that she's been in recently that I've talked about. She's a great actress, but man, when she picks a bad movie, she picks some really bad movies. And this is definitely one of them. And, you know, when I think of an erotic thriller, I don't think of John Belushi's brother, Jim Belushi, as the leading actor involved in this. Like, even John Belushi himself probably couldn't have made this work. It's just... This just looks like a bad movie overall. It doesn't look like it's a good erotic thriller, period. It doesn't look like it's a good mystery overall. It looks very confusing, and there's probably a reason why I never even heard about this movie until I looked it up today. And that's probably why. It just looks like a bad movie on so many levels, and really that's pretty much all I gotta say about it, because I have never seen it. I don't plan on seeing it, and it just looks terrible. So that's Traces of Red for you. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Love Potion number 9. Okay, I think yesterday when I talked about this movie, I said that Tony Goldwyn was in it, which is obviously not true because we already looked at a Tony Goldwyn movie, Traces of Red, and Tony Goldwyn is very different from Tate Donovan, as you can see. Tate Donovan, if you don't remember him, he's most notably known as the voice of Hercules, and you also have Sandra Bullock in here, and it's a good concept overall. It actually kind of is very interesting. Like, they create this potion where people become infatuated by them simply by just talking. I mean, no matter whatever they say, the person will eventually fall for them, and it's a fun concept. But I think it's a botched delivery in this movie. I think this movie plays it a little too safe. I think it's a movie that has a good idea to it, but like I said, plays it too safe, tries to go for the broad appeal audience, the mass-marketed romantic comedy. It doesn't do anything specifically funny or creative or engaging with it. And it really just... It took so many good ideas that it just didn't manage to work anything with them. And kind of a waste for both Donovan and Bullock. They're doing a pretty decent job making this concept work, but some of the dialogue in here is just really, really lazy, and it's a shame because the director of this, Dale Launer, he had just written one of the best comedies of the year with My Cousin Vinny. So I don't know what went wrong here. I don't know if this was something where they just went with the script that they had because they wanted to get this out to follow the success of My Cousin Vinny very quickly, or what, but it just didn't work. It's a movie that really just kind of is very underwhelming. Has a really good concept to it, but sadly, it just doesn't work all the way through. It's a really disappointing movie. Love Potion number 9. That's all I gotta say about it. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Disney's Aladdin. So kind of like what they did with Beauty and the Beast the year before, they actually put this out in a couple of theaters limitedly. I think they did it in California and New York, and then a couple weeks later, it eventually went wide in the theaters. And that's why we're talking about it right now. And the great thing about Aladdin is that it's one of those movies that's one of those rare movies that's both very dated, but also kind of timeless in a way. And it's mostly dated because some of the genie's jokes can be very dated, but at the same time, that's just kind of the greatness of the movie. Really, the best thing about the movie is Robin Williams as the genie. Just great casting by Disney, and he handled that role very well. And you could tell that he was just having the time of his life doing all these different voices for this performance. And I think there's a documentary where there's like several hours of various audio recordings that Robin Williams did that never made it into the movie. And it's really fascinating to watch, honestly. Like, you could tell that he was having the time of his life making this movie. And it's kind of unfortunate what happened with him and Disney, because what happened was, when this movie was being promoted, I guess there was a thing in his contract where he didn't want to... There was something where I guess he didn't want the genie to be the main focus of the advertising of the movie, and he's pretty much all over the advertising for it. He's on front of the posters. I mean, the teaser poster is his lamp. The trailers, they got to show a lot of the genie in there, and it really irked him a lot, where he actually kind of ended his relationship with Disney for a long time, which is why in the sequels that they did for home video, The Return of Jafar, it's Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson, as the genie. But then they eventually worked it out when Robert Williams came back for the last Aladdin movie, The King of Thieves, and I guess after that their relationship kind of went back on track again. But it's a very interesting story about what happened when this movie came out. But on top of Williams' performance, the rest of the movie is just great too. The animation overall is spectacular. It's got that great contemporary Disney animation style we've come to expect from them. Aladdin and Jasmine are great characters. Jafar is a great villain. Iago, the great sidekick. They all make Disney characters so memorable are in this movie. And the music is also great. You've got Alan Menken and Tim Rice with some great music. Memorable songs that we still sing a lot along to. Even today, like A Whole New World, Friend Like Me, Prince Ali, just these classic songs. There's even a song that was never used in the movie but was later brought into the musical, which was Proud of Your Boy, which if you ever watched the Aladdin DVD, the first DVD release of Aladdin, they have a music video on there by Clay Aiken, and it's done pretty well. Like, it's a shame that it wasn't in the movie, and I was kind of hoping it'd be there in the live-action film, which kind of is, sort of, but it's completely different. It's a different song altogether, but it definitely feels like that vibe. It definitely felt like that song. If you ever seen the remake of Aladdin, which I like the remake of Aladdin enough, but really, with those live-action remakes, I always say nothing ever tops the original, and there's really nothing more you can say about this movie. It's a classic Disney movie, one of the best, one of the highlights of the second golden age of Disney animation. It's just a terrific film overall. Just a wonderful film. I can't recommend it enough. If you haven't seen it already, please do yourself a favor and do it, but chances are you probably have already seen it already. So, that's Aladdin. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Gerard Depardieu in Tous les matins du monde. It's actually pretty simple. It's All the Mornings of the World. Do your research, folks, before you do stuff like this. Like, for me, I try to do the best I can do with my research, but even then I have to have Wikipedia right here just to get me to figure out what these things are to be factually correct. That is what I want to say. But as you can probably tell, I've never seen this movie, so this is going to be very quick here to talk about. You've got Gerard Depardieu in this. The movie basically centers around the composer Marin Marias. I think that's how he pronounced his name. His life as a musician. The aging person is played by Depardieu, and his son, his real life son, Guillermo Depardieu, plays the young Maris. And you're basically following this life of this composer, and in a way, it's kind of like Amadeus in a way, sort of. At least that's what I'm getting from the clips that I saw, and it looks visually pleasing. It doesn't look that bad of a movie, but again, it's one I probably won't rush out to see real quickly, but it does look nice. It does look like a nice looking film. And that's really all I got for you on this one. So, All the Mornings of the World. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, 3 movies that are actually pretty good for the most part we'll be looking at, including Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, Spike Lee's Malcolm X with Denzel Washington, and also Harvey Keitel and Bad Lieutenant. So basically 2 really great movies, and then Home Alone 2, which is a good movie, but not as good as the original. We'll delve more into that next time around, but until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys next time for the next episode. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.